frequent exposure to serious stressors, harm, trauma, torture, or indiscriminate attacks
Our pillar, Jesus Christ. Jesus.
has an immediate implications for the mental health and well-being of an individual. The ongoing crisis rocking the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon has a devastating impact on the mental health of the population.
We want to specifically talk about the mental health impact of the current Anglophone crisis on the population of our community. We all understand that this problem has been going on for about three years, 2016 to 2019, and the population is beginning to struggle. So we want to use this opportunity to highlight the impact of this crisis on our children, the parents, and the wider society.
To believe that it has. Why I say it has is that take the case where somebody has already built his or her house, and then the house is burnt. Normally, that person should have. I think that person should have a problem with the way he or she thinks now. Okay. Taking into consideration that the person will be thinking of how to do what, how to have money to build a house like that again. It must have an effect on the psychology of that person, the mental.
I have lost 3 persons that were so close to my heart, and their death has caused me intense psychological distress and emotional torment. And there was a point where it was difficult for me to catch sleep. You have to spend night thinking. At one point, I felt like I was psychologically imbalanced, like I was going crazy. I even felt like I called a friend of mine who's a student at the university who is psychology, and she has to counsel me. And even now, I'm still haunted with this ugly past, this very devastating things that happened to me.
Take a case where your child is killed right before you. Any right-thinking person will not reason again normal. Take a situation where, how do I even put it? Your own father, your own brother, somebody you have been relying on, a breadwinner is taken away. Of course, there must be an effect on that person's way of reasoning. We are not animals. It is an animal that if you take away one of theirs, they will not even take note. They wouldn't mean anything. We are human beings.
Looking at the results of the statistics carried out recently by the health sector, Dr. Agui Samuel, a neuropsychiatrist, made it known that there is a drastic increase in the number of mental health reported cases.
Over the course of the last 3 years, from the statistics that was gathered last 2 weeks from the district hospital Kumba, the regional hospital Boya, the regional hospital Limbe, and Mines Cameroon, there has been a 4-fold increase in the number of cases of mental health, which means that if averagely we saw 100 patients with mental health before the crisis started, we see 400. If we saw 500 patients before the crisis started, today we're seeing 2,000, which means that the crisis is having a direct impact on the population, and the population is really struggling. The next thing that we also identify from the statistics is that a lot of women and children are becoming affected. We're seeing a lot of rape cases that has gone up about 10-fold. A lot of children presenting with post-traumatic stress disorder, which means that they have a flashback. If they see military vehicles pass, if they see people dressed abnormally, they run and get scared of persons, and we have not noticed this before. The next impact that we really want to highlight on is this post-traumatic stress disorder on the wider population. A lot of persons who have had loved ones killed before their eyes, had their houses burned down, they are struggling because they continue to have flashback of these traumatic events, and it is beginning to take its toll on them. A lot cannot sleep at night, and a lot are beginning to develop other causes of mental illness like schizophrenia. They are also developing a lot of suicidal ideations because of depression. And finally, the last aspect that we could gather or synthesize from the records that we had is that a lot of the children that we now have, children between 15 and 25 years, there is a more than 400% increase in the number of children who are taking drugs. Before they were taking marijuana, but tramadol has gone up, and the number of children who are taking tramadol is unbelievable.
According to WHO, in armed conflicts generally, an estimated 17 to 15% of the population will suffer from depression and post-traumatic stress. And in the midst of all this, dialogue is the cry of many.
We've been praying, all the talking that has been done, the prayer has been done. This one now is left for the government, because I believe the government of Cameroon has what it takes to put an end to this situation. And this thing will only end where the day the government will say, okay, we want to put an end to this thing, but they know what's supposed to be done. What's difficult for the government to call those who are in prison as less than dialogue?
For the authorities, those who have a way to impact for this crisis to be ended, that we can no longer tolerate the mental health toll of this crisis on our population. Something should be done to address this crisis so that we don't continue from where it is. It's already bad, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So my direct appeal is for all those who are involved in looking for a way forward to resolve this crisis, to do so now, because the population of the Southwest, and I assume the Northwest regions, are struggling and they cannot cope anymore.
From the look of things, the situation is much more serious than expected, and as such, peace is just the ideal world.